What's up, YouTube? Today we're going to be looking at the Jungle Cup once again, and the team we're taking a look at today is Clodsire, Pangoro, and SPIDOPS. Now, of course, the main focus of today's video is going to be SPIDOPS, as it is a brand new Pokemon in the world of Pokemon Go, and it has a fantastic moveset with Shadow Claw, Lunge, and Rock Tomb. We have two charge moves that lower the opponent's attack, and Shadow Claw, which is just a great damage per energy charge move, or just damage and energy generating fast move. So very great combo here. Decent pacing. It's a pretty bulky Pokemon. Its only downside is that it's a mono bug. So without further ado, let's hop into these battles. Hopping into game number one, we've got Clodsire into Piloswine. This is a pretty rough lead. So you're going to safe swap into the Pangoro, and we're instantly met with an Air/Mana Buzz. So not going too hot in the first matchup, but that's okay. We can connect with a Rock Slide that does super effective damage, and it puts them at nearly half HP. So I think I can get to 2 more Rock Slides before the opponent can get to another Air Relay. So that's exactly what I'm going to commit to. We're already nearly at the back-to-back. We're 1 away from the back-to-back, and the opponent is also 1 away from a charge move of their own. So I'll be able to outpace the opponent and either pick up the knockout or grab 2 shields in this matchup, and that is exactly where we want to be, having a shield advantage for SPIDOPS in the back. They will end up getting that full air/farm down, leaving with a lot of energy to threaten the Clodsire, but Clodsire can absorb this energy no problem, as Clodsire is extremely bulky. The opponent is already at the back-to-back moves, so I will just let this go. Foul Play connects, and I can't really get a Shadow Claw farm down with the SPIDOPS, so I'm going to look to overfarm here, now pick up the knockout with the Stone Edge. And Stone Edge is super effective damage. It'll easily knock out the Mana Buzz, and now in comes the SPIDOPS. SPIDOPS may have to commit a shield here if the opponent commits to a Stone Edge, which they do, so that I will respect it here. Shield goes up, and it is the Stone Edge, so that is a huge call, and in the back is a Thievul from the opponent, so a very cool pick from the opponent, but unfortunately for them, Lunge is super effective, Bug is super effective on Dark, and it also lowers my opponent's attack, which means we can tank this Night Slash no problem. And now I can look to overfarm a little bit in this matchup and pick up the knockout with a Lunge before they're able to make it to another charge move. Now the question is, can I make it to another charge move before the opponent gets to a Powder Snow or a Icicle Spear? And the answer is yes. I'm able to make it to the Rock Tomb on 4 Shadow Claws. Rock Tomb is neutral damage. It puts them into the red health range. Can I make it to the Stone Edge? Not before the opponent makes one final charge move, but I can live an Icicle Spear from this range. But the opponent is actually running Avalanche that takes out the Clodsire. It's a race. Shadow Claw versus Powder Snow. We get the simultaneous knockout, and that's actually going to be a draw. Into next match, picking up a neutral lead, we've got Clodsire into Furret. SPIDOPS does not have a good matchup here, so I'm forced to kind of just stay in this matchup. I'm going to tank a Trailblaze here, wait for them to boost their attack, and then come in with a Pangoro, which forces them to reset that attack boost. We end up luring out a Talonflame as well, and Talonflame will be hit with a double super effective Rock Slide. Does the opponent respect it with a shield? They do not. They let that go, and down goes the Talonflame, and the opponent just instantly resigns the match. They've had enough. Pangoro looked too difficult into their team. And now into the next match, we've got Clodsire into the Dunsparce. Dunsparce has resisted rollouts here, so I'm actually going to go for the Catch of the Drill Run onto my Pangoro. I'm unsuccessful. The opponent holds onto their energy, and they come in with a Talonflame once again. Is this Talonflame going to respect the double super effective Rock Slide? No, they don't. That's 2 nukes back to back. In the back is a Dartrix. Now the question is, can I make it to 2 more Rock Slides before the opponent can get the full Peck farm down? It's going to be close. Rock Slide number 1 puts them into the yellow. We get to Rock Slide number 2, so this will be enough to grab a shield. And we have Flip Switch in this matchup, which is really nice, because now I can come in with the Clodsire, absorb this energy, and then I have a little bit of residual on the Clodsire, and then I can come in with SPIDOPS as well. They go for the Seed Bomb. We end up getting a nice shield call. I make a catch, recognizing that SPIDOPS is basically completely useless in this matchup. They full send the Brave Bird. It actually doesn't knock out, which means they get a extra rollout through on their Dunsparce, but that's okay. They're basically at 100 energy at this point. I'm going to full send the Earthquake. The opponent does end up letting that go, and now I'm just going to start shielding up these drill runs. I know I can live 1, but I may as well shield 2, because this is the last super effective charge move that my opponent can throw. So here come back-to-back shields. I just basically need to Poison Sting them into a range where a Stone Edge will knock out. The opponent not yet add another charge move, so here comes Stone Edge number 1, and the opponent will put up their final Protect Shield. Can I make it to Stone Stone Edge number 2, not before the opponent makes it to one final charge move. But like I said, I know I can live. This drill run is super effective, but it does not knock out. I wait the turn to make sure that rollout goes through, and now I look to pick up the knockout with a Stone Edge, and now it's a raised Poison Sting versus Pact, but the opponent is not as low as I remembered, and my game just stops playing. Like, the game just stopped entirely. I started lagging like crazy. The opponent gets enough Pact to get to a Seed Bomb, and unfortunately we do lose that game. Into next match, very cool pick for my opponent. We've got a enemy SPIDOPS in the next match. They end up safe switching into an Altaria, and I don't have an immediate response to Altaria in the back, so I'm actually forced to kind of just stay in this matchup. The opponent does go for a Sky Attack right away, which means this is the CMP tie. We of course lose CMP here as the Clodsire, but Stone Edge is super effective damage, and once that lands, in comes Pangoro, because Pangoro can actually outpace the opponent. They can never outpace me here, so coming with the Pangoro is pretty safe, and Rock Slide is super effective damage. It'll knock out the Altaria, and now it depends, what does my opponent want to do? Do they want to show me their third, or do they want to come back in with the SPIDOPS? They actually want to come back in with the SPIDOPS, where Shadow Claw is resisted, Lunge is neutral, but Rock Tomb is resisted as well, and we have super effective Rock Slides, which we just showed. The opponent ends up going for that Lunge on the CMP tie, but losing CMP to Pangoro. Lunge is not even enough to knock out. Can we make it to another Rock Slide? Yes, we can. Is the opponent really willing to double shield in this matchup, or are they going to take this Rock Slide? They are just going to take it. We've already grabbed his shield. The opponent looks for the entire farm down here, but they're completely walled by the Clodsire, and in the back they have a Clodsire of their own, so we're almost basically running mirror teams here. But we have Pangoro and they have Altaria, and we're playing this out a little bit better than my opponent. The opponent will go for a Stone Edge on the CMP tie. It's not enough to knock out after that Lunge, and we already have very bulky Pokemon, so we hang on with plenty of HP remaining. Able to make it to Lunge number 2, lowering my opponent's attack once again, and we've already actually got them into the yellow health range with purely resistant damage. I'm already at Lunge number 3. The opponent is holding under their energy. They're trying to save it for later, but I'm just going to stay in this matchup and force them to throw, because I don't want the first Lunge to connect on my Clodsire. That ends up picking up the knockout, and then we have a 2-shield Clodsire against the world. I know this is resistant, and I know the Clodsire has nearly basically has 100 energy, so I can overfarm a little bit in this matchup, but not by much, because I don't really want to take another Lunge, as that would put me at a pretty severe disadvantage. I need to make sure that an Earthquake does KO. The opponent comes back with the Clodsire. They're nearly at the back-to-back Stone Edges. I do end up putting up the shield, as I basically need to call a bait here because they have so much residual energy, and they end up going for that Stone Edge bait. That is an absolutely huge bait call. I'm hoping the opponent has to try and make that bait call back, so I'm full sending the Earthquake here, hoping that I can outpace. The opponent ends up letting that go, and we are able to take the win. Into next match, we've got Clodsire into Stunfisk, so not a good lead and 2 better answers in the back, but I am actually going to stay in originally and force them to throw their energy and then go for a super effective Earthquake, as Earthquake is a much better charge move than the Mud Bombs, but it is of course a little bit slower. Here comes the Earthquake here. Now, does the opponent end up putting up a shield, or do they let this go? They end up putting up a shield, so now in comes Pangoro, and if they decide to throw, I'm fine with shielding right back. But instead, the opponent responds with a Vigoroth in the back. I have not seen that Pokemon in absolutely ages, but Vigoroth has met its maker. Here comes Pangoro, picking up the knockout with the close combat. Where does the opponent want to go from here? They're going to come in with an Araquanid in the back, and because our defense is lowered, they will be able to get a full Bug Bite farm down, but not before I connect with Rock Slide number 1, and Rock Slide does end up picking up the knockout. In comes the Clodsire, as I need to align the SPIDOPS against the Stunfisk, and Clodsire will have to absorb a super effective either Bubble Beam or Water Pulse here. It will be the Water Pulse, and now back in comes the Stunfisk. I'm just going to have to let this go. Clodsire does not have that much play in this matchup, and Mud Bomb does end up picking up the knockout, and I want to save 2 shields for the SPIDOPS. Looks like I actually got 1 turn lag on Bring In here. That shouldn't matter as long as the opponent is not already at the back-to-back charge moves. Spoiler alert, they're at the back-to-back charge moves, so now I have to double shield in this matchup because I can't take a fully charged charge move before I throw the Lunge. And now I'm forced to overfarm because the opponent can just reset this debuff and come in with the Araquanid, which is exactly what the opponent's going to do. I can overfarm a little bit, but not by much. Now here comes the super effective Rock Tomb. I really don't want this to KO, so I end up undercharging it here, but the opponent will end up putting up a shield. They throw right before I make it to the Lunge. But like I said, I shouldn't have had to give out that second shield because I should have been able to go for a Lunge against the Stunfisk before they got there. I'm able to farm up 2 back-to-back charge moves here, but I'm already too low, and unfortunately I think the lag is going to cost me this game, as here comes launch number 2, but I just do not have the health remaining that I would have otherwise had, and unfortunately we do go down there. So that's 2 matchups already lost the lag. Into the next match, we've got Clodsire into Shadow Charizard. So this is actually a Dragon Breath Shadow Charizard at that, which means the opponent will be able to outpace me by 1 single turn, but I know this is not where I want to use my shield, so I will let it go. Even if it is the full send of the Blast Burn, I watch for the catch. The opponent goes for it onto a Thunder Fang Steelix in the back, and I have a great response to Steelix, where both Psychic Fangs and Crunch are double resisted. Psychic Fang is only single resisted, but Crunch is double resisted. But now in comes Pangoro. The opponent is actually on Earthquake. They full send the Earthquake. It doesn't knock out the Pangoro, and we're able to make it to a close combat as well. That actually leaves the opponent on 1 HP. We're unable to flip switch there, but we are able to get a triple resisted Poison Sting farm down, and in the back is a Ferrothorn. So Ferrothorn, of course, will be resisted with the Bullet Seeds and with the Bullet Seeds and the Power Whips on the SPIDOPS here, but the opponent is going to pivot instantly back into their Charizard, and they will make it to an Air Cutter. Air Cutter, unfortunately for me, does get the boost. They are able to make it to Air Cutter number 2. I will put up the shield, and now I will go for the lunge. This is double resisted here, but I basically need this to connect in order to pick up the knockout, but I will be able to outpace the opponent because they did put up that shield. I was only 4 Shadow Claws away from the next because I did overfarm a little bit, and lunge does end up picking up the knockout, and now it's a race. Can I get to the lunge before they get to the thunder? I cannot, so I go for the catch onto the Clodsire. The opponent is looking for the farm down. They can't get it, so they're forced to throw energy before I would make a charge move, and Power Whip does end up picking up the knockout, but that allows me to get to the lunge. This is neutral damage. It might not be enough to pick up the knockout on the opponent, but I'm hoping it allows me to survive a thunder. It's going to be close. They have enough energy for the thunder here. Can SPIDOPS hang on? It's very bulky. We got the debuff, and yes, it can. We get the Shadow Claw farm down as well, living on 1 HP, resisting the Bullet Seeds, and we are able to take that win. Terrible lead in the next match. We've got a Gastrodon, so going to pivot into the Pangoro, and the opponent is going to stage switch into a Talonflame once again. All of these Talonflames response to the Pangoros is absolutely amazing because we have the double super effective Rock Slide locked and loaded. It picks up the 1-hit KO, and now back in comes the Gastrodon, but Gastrodon will be hit with a nuke of a close combat here as well, unless they commit the shield, which the opponent does. So they end up giving me switch and shield advantage, and now I can align their Mud Slapper against my Bug type where Mud Slap is resisted. They can go for a Water Pulse here, but I can just survive this. They end up going for a Body Slam bait, and they throw right away, which means this is going to only be another Body Slam. At this point, I'm definitely just going to let this go. It puts us into the yellow health range, and in the back is a Credilli, but Credilli will be outpaced. We have super effective lunges here, and lunge does about 50% of the opponent's HP, and I'm going to go for the catch of the Rock Tomb onto Clodsire where it is resisted. Did the opponent predict that catch? No, they did not. They ended up going for that Rock Tomb. That is absolutely huge. The opponent will be able to outpace me here, but that's okay because then I can just look to overfarm, pick up the knockout with a Stone Edge. Actually, I should probably go for an Earthquake here in this matchup in case they do get that catch, and the opponent is pretty low and my attack is lowered, so I'm going to full send the Earthquake here. Earthquake from this range picks up the knockout on the Credilli. Back in comes the Gastrodon, but Gastrodon will be hit with the Earthquake here. The question is, can I make it to another Earthquake, or actually, I'm just going to grab that final shield, and now back in comes the SPIDOPS. SPIDOPS will be able to connect with a lunge here, lowering the opponent's attack, and we still have 2 shields left in play, which means this game is completely over. It does not matter how much energy they have. They cannot get out of this matchup, but the opponent is playing it out to the bitter end. I knew they'd make it to the charge move at the exact same time, which is why I overfarmed there. And now that we have that at 1 HP and they wanted to play this out, we're going to go for a little bit of BM, going for the resisted Rock Tomb in order to pick up the knockout on the 1 HP Gastrodon, and we are able to take the win. In tonight's match, we've got Clodsire into Dedenne. Wow, the leads do not get better than that. The opponent's going to stage switch into a Piloswine, and in comes Pangoro. Pangoro, of course, will take pretty neutral damage from this Ice Skill Spear, but we can survive it, and then I should be able to make it to a close combat. Trying to throw on the CMP Tide, the opponent predicts me going for that, and they end up just going for the overfarm, which means the opponent can just put up a shield, go for a full farm down, and now that puts me in a very awkward position because Stone Edge is super effective here on the SPIDOPS. I end up getting 1 turn lag on Bring In once again, it looks like. Actually, maybe not. It looks like I got the Shadow Claw in there, so perhaps not. That said, back in comes the Dedenne. They end up getting that catch, but that's okay. This is resisted damage, but it will permanently lower my opponent's attack, and now I will look to overfarm and go for the catch of the parabolic charge onto my Clodsire. Did I get that catch? That would be pretty nice. It's double resisted damage, and we do. They end up, of course, raising their defense, and they're actually just going to go for a parabolic charge once again. Maybe they're hoping they can just hang on to a charge move, and they actually will be able to, especially if I go for the Stone Edge and the Farm Down, and that's exactly what my plan is here, because I want to leave this matchup with energy. This is such a dominant matchup for the Clodsire, so I go for the Stone Edge. The opponent is having absolutely none of it. They come back with the Pileless One, but Pileless One is loaded on energy, so here's Icicle Spear. Back in comes the SPIDOPS. SPIDOPS looking for the farm down, can't quite get it. The opponent makes it to one final charge move. Is it enough for the Stone Edge? No, it is not. It is just the Icicle Spear. So can we get the farm down? Yes, we can. If that Dedenne comes back in, they will be hit with a Rock Tomb, but no, instead it is a Crustle in the back, which is also going to take super effective damage from Rock Tomb. So Rock Tomb connects. That does big damage to the Crustle. We're able to make it to a Lunge as well, and this is neutral damage. The opponent is pretty low. They are going to end up putting up the shield, and they are completely walled by the Clodsire, but who cares when you can snipe with the energy on the Clodsire now that no shields are left in play. Stone Edge picks up the knockout, and now we have a Dedenne against the Clodsire, but my opponent is playing it out to the bitter end. They have enough energy for the play rough, but it's too little too late. We get the Poison Sting farm down, and we are able to take the win. In tonight's match pickup, another good lead. We've got Clodsire into Wiggly. The opponent's going to safe switch into a Zweilous, but Zweilous will be hit with the Pangoro. We can live one Body Slam here. Even though living a charge move is not very comfortable on the Pangoro, we can actually do that. I'm now going to look to connect with a close combat before they're able to make it to Body Slam number 2. Is the opponent willing to commit a shield? No, they are not. Close combat rocks the Zweilous, and in the back is a Ariados. So it's kind of surprising they didn't come back with a Wiggly. They have a fine matchup there, but here's a super effective Rock Slide. The opponent sees that damage, they resign the match, and we are able to take that win. Into the final match of the video, we've got a Talonflame on the lead this time. So finally not switching into my Pangoro. Lagging like crazy here, but can we get to the charge move before the opponent? Yes, we can. Stone Edge is double super effective damage. You better believe the opponent will be absolutely respecting this with a shield. They're not going to let their Talonflame go down. I still am getting so much lag, but the opponent will make it to a charge move here. They're going to full send a Brave Bird. It's not enough to knock out, and in the back is a Chestnut. I'm going to bank a Stone Edge and then come in with my Spidops where all of their charge moves are resisted. Superpower, Frenzy, they're both resisted, but they're actually on Thunder Punch. Kind of an interesting move set for the Chestnut here, but Thunder Punch does allow them to hit for neutral damage. That said, Lunge is neutral as well, and it lowers the opponent's attack and its stab, so it's going to do more damage than the opponent's Thunder Punch, and it looks like we can actually live 2 more of those. So there's 1. Here's already 2 for my opponent. Now the question is, can I get a full non-stab Shadow Claw farm down from the opponent before they make it to another charge move? The answer is no, unfortunately. So here comes another Lunge. I'm hoping that I can leave with a Rock Tomb loaded for that Talonflame. I believe I'm 1 away. Back in comes, no, it's actually a Fletchinder in the back. The opponent is ABA Fire Flying. They end up committing a shield, and now in comes Pangoro. Pangoro, of course, will be outpaced to the charge move here as the opponent gets there right as we do, but that is okay because I can put up a shield. The opponent is going to go for the flame charge there, but now I can farm up 2 back-to-back Rock Slides. Rock Slide is double super effective damage. It's going to easily knock out the Talonflame. Back in comes the Fletchinder, but Fletchinder has the exact same typing as Talonflame, and its extra bulk is not going to help it. Rock Slide picks up the knockout, and we are able to take that win. So yes, even though this kind of felt also like a Pangoro showcase, I think Spidops held its own, and I think it's definitely a fun Pokemon to run. I think its moveset is really, really cool, and I appreciate that they tried to give this Pokemon a little bit of use right out of the get-go. I don't think it's a Pokemon you absolutely need for climbing. I think it has a unique play in this meta, and I think it will core break a lot of the top meta in the Open Great League, especially when that comes back around. When you think about what the actual top meta is, you have a lot of Ghosts, we have super effective Shadow Claws, you have a lot of Mud Slappers, which you resist with the bug typing. You have Rock Tomb and Lunge to lower the opponent's attack. Like you got some decent coverage. So I think it's definitely a nice niche that this Pokemon brings to the table. But that said, I do want to say thank you to the expert trainer members on this channel: Benny Hemlock, Dr. Mustache, Eliana, Perry G, Blue Nation, Peter Rushworth, Alright 504, Chompus Clips, Sons of Code, and Soham Patil, as well as an extra special thank you to the Legend Trainer members on this channel: Andrew Bitten, Musachu, Noodleman, Speedster, Esteros, Fast Idiot Boss, CD Slaskus, and Star Bonsai. Thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, peace!